Hello and welcome back to part two or episode two of my dive into the B ranked films that I've seen in 2025. So without further ado, let's just dive straight back into my list here. So with this one, this next face off, what have I got here for you? Big budget sequels. Here we go. So I've decided to face off Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I did a full prequel trilogy rewatch last year. Spoiler alert, those two films may or may not be coming up. And and then Gladiator 2. So I'm facing off Gladiator 2, which I've ranked to B, with Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which I've ranked B+. Star Wars Episode 2, 2002 film, PG rating, and Gladiator 2 coming in with a 15 rating. Yeah, Gladiator 2. I don't really have much to say of this film. I mean, I just think the first one's that much better. Right? It was. My brain goes back to a video I saw from Like Stories of Old, and I don't remember what he said about the film specifically, but it was just that he wasn't too keen on it as a sequel. I'm not too keen on it as a sequel. Um, yeah, it's kind of an imitation of the first film, and I just think the first film does it infinitely better. So I don't really have much more to say on Gladiator 2. It's just yeah, it's not a film that I'm in a desperate rush to rewatch. Star Wars Episode 2 is a bit different. So Star Wars Episode 2, it's 2002. I was 10 years old, so there's a lot of nostalgia built into this film. Or not even this film, but that era of Star Wars from '99 through to 2005. Anything and everything that was happening with the prequel trilogy. I was between the age of 7 and 13. Um, yeah, playing Lego Star Wars games, all sorts was going on there with Star Wars for me. I was collecting little lightsabers out of cereal boxes. But after doing a rewatch over the last year of these prequel films, I don't remember too much from this film, to be honest. I remember the arena section, with the escape. I remember, I think Anakin and Obi-Wan face off against Dooku, right? They face off against him again. Um, yeah, I've just not got much really to say about this. But I do take Attack of the Clones over Gladiator 2, so I know that much. Um, I gave Attack of the Clones a B+, Gladiator a B. So, yeah, sorry Gladiator 2, you are not as good as even Attack of the Clones in my estimation. So, on to the next face-off. I have a three-for-all. Actually, no, I'm framing this one as a 3v1. So we've got Middle-earth versus Middle-earth. So we're going to face off the Hobbit trilogy with the War of the Rohirrim animated film that came out in 2024. So this is the first one I would say that felt like a tricky face-off. It's kind of Lord of the Rings against Lord of the Rings. I do love the cast in the Hobbit films. That's the thing. Yeah, not as good as Lord of the Rings. I mean, I don't think I need to regurgitate what's like publicly and commonly known. Still had fun with it. The thing is, it's still got the music. It's still got the actors. Even if it's not following the film beat by beat and doing everything's exactly. It's still Howard Shore's music there. It's still got Ian McKellen's there, Martin Freeman, Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug. Like, it's got the cast and it's just got that. There's enough magic in there for me to, I suppose, I still look forward to rewatching it in the future and appreciating it for what it is. So yeah, I can see myself doing that. And then you got on the other side of the coin, Lord of the Rings at War of the Rohirrim. So I saw this in the cinema originally in 24. I had a nice time with it. I was trying to broaden my horizons with anime because, yeah, essentially traditionally only ever really seen Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. I think I've seen Pacific Rim, The Black. Not seen much else really in my life. And yeah, in this one you got Brian Cox as Helm Hammerhand, Guy Wise as Hedda, and Luke Pasqualino as Orf. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not like fully aware of all of the voice actors as I'm reading through. I know Brian Cox. I thought he put in a good performance. Um, you know what? It's just so different. It's so different to the Hobbit trilogy. It's so different to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's kind of, I don't know how faithful it is to the story it's trying to tell. But I did enjoy the soundtrack. That's the thing with both of these, like, and why I would rate them both as B plus. It's probably because of my inbuilt Middle Earth bias, but I do feel like the soundtracks to come out of both of them is excellent. And the thing is, with the War of the Rohirrim, there were moments in there as well where someone would get killed in like kind of a brutal way, and I'd go, "Whoa!" Like that is, she just kind of felt that, you know. So there were moments of violence in this where I thought, wow, this almost feels 15. Like I think it got a 12A rating, but there were some moments in there where I thought, wow. And yeah, there were some moments as well within some of the combat where I was kind of like, yes, let's go, you know. So it still had those kind of moments in there that I think made it worth watching. And especially on a rewatch, I was able to reappreciate those and reappreciate the soundtrack. So yeah, there was a good theme as well coming out of good music coming out of both. I gave it Face Off in the end. I did flirt back and forth between these two films. I give it back to the Hobbit trilogy, just about because of the. It's kind of a coin flip because I kind of rank them both in the same kind of ballpark. They're both kind of why I'm giving B plus. But I've given it to the Hobbit trilogy. So shout out also to Ed Sheeran. That's the song, the Icy Fire song. I had a period of obsession with that, so that was quite fun to kind of relive that. What we got next on the list here? So, bit of an odd matchup, but I've got Batman versus Superman Face Off. I've got Batman: The Killing Joke 2016 versus Superman 2025. I kind of jumped back and forth between these as well. So I don't really have much history of Superman. Never really been. Like, I don't really have a lot of nostalgia with the character. I know a few people that do. And with Batman, my entry point there, I think I'd seen some of the animated stuff as a kid, but my entry point there properly was The Dark Knight, because I would have seen that. It would have been, was it a 15? It must have been a 15. No, it must have been a 12A, right? But yeah, the Nolan trilogy was kind of my entry point to Batman properly. You know, I've always been kind of Team Spider-Man, but saw both of these films last year. Batman: The Killing Joke was a Blu-ray 2016 that I'd had on my shelf and I hadn't watched. I believe it's rated 15. And then you got Superman 2025, which is rated at 12. I've ended up giving this face-off to Batman: The Killing Joke. I think the strength of the performances. I don't know how these performances in this film rank against other films they've done, but it's got Kevin Conroy's voice in it, Mark Hamill's voice in it, right? And it just they just seem to be enjoying the roles, you know. And yeah, I think it's as well. The thing is with The Killing Joke, you've got the animation in there. I'm still just a sucker for animation. Like I just felt like the way everything was animated, I was just that really carried me through, even when some of the dialogue and some of the narrative kind of, I was kind of raising my eyebrows a bit. And with Superman, okay, so Superman had some really good past points. I felt like the chemistry between David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan was really good. I think that scene where they do the interview, I was like, oh my god, like they're Superman and Lois Lane, like they're actually, that's them. They're perfect casting. So I think from a casting point of view, it's perfect. Nicholas Hoult, I always enjoy watching Nicholas Hoult, Lex Luthor. So yeah, I felt from a casting point of view, that's the thing probably that carried me on both. You got good casts in there. I did jump back and forth. I've written down Batman the Killing Joke winning the face-off, but to be honest, this one's probably another coin flip. I feel like they're both vaguely in the same kind of ballpark. But yeah, we're giving that to Batman the Killing Joke. Okay, next one is the most bizarre 1v1. Most bizarre 1v1, I'm calling this. So I've given these both a B+. So we've got Soylent Green, 1973. I watched that, and I also saw Leon the Professional. I've called them this the most bizarre 1v1 because they're two very, I would say, quite odd films for different reasons. Yes, I'm just trying to remember the cast. So you got Jean Reno as Leon, a very young Natalie Portman as Matilda, and Gary Oldman. Oh yeah, I really wanted to see the, the clip of him going, "Everyone!" I finally have seen that in the film, so that's like the big plus for this film for me. I've finally seen Gary Oldman. Really enjoyed Gary Oldman's performance in this. Yeah, the interactions between a very young Portman and Jean Reno's character, very odd. I'm not in any rush to watch this film again, but I'm glad I've seen Gary Oldman do his everyone. So yeah, it's probably worth it just for that. So, and that I'm facing that off against another kind of an odd film, starring Charlton Heston as Robert Thorne, Lee Taylor Young. To be honest, I don't know this cast. I'm looking at these names. These names, unfortunately, if they're well known within the cinema world, I'm sorry, I don't know them yet. I don't know their works. But this one, Soylent Green. How do I explain Soylent Green? A 1973 American dystopian thriller film. The story follows a murder investigation in a dystopian future of dying oceans and year-round humidity caused by the greenhouse effect, with the resulting pollution, depleted resources, poverty, and overpopulation. So yeah, the kind of dystopian sci-fi themes. I thought they were. This film. It's. I think from the thumbnail on Amazon, you kind of look at it and go, "Eh?" But I'm really glad I watched it because it was really, really odd. Also, the plot by 2022. So I think it's set in 22, and it was filmed and released rather in 1973. So it's kind of, that's the other thing with these old films as well. You get that kind of time capsule of filmmaking in that time. 1973. I recommend watching. I do recommend Soylent Green to anyone that wants a dystopian thriller film that's kind of odd. Some of the bits with the main character are a bit weird, with the way that he interacts with other characters. But there's just some really nice, like, heartwarming moments, and there's a really interesting thing they did in there with the concept of the afterlife that I just thought, wow, yeah, that is it. We need to do that. We need to do the way that you've done the afterlife kind of stuff in there. Really, really cool. But still a bizarre film in terms of what's going on. So in this face-off, I'm giving them both a B+. Yeah, I'm going with Soylent Green, as that's probably the first one on my list, to be honest, where I feel like out of everything I've listed across all of the B's so far, where I'm like thinking, I think I could see myself watching that one again on my own, because that's a caveat. I think if I was put into a situation with someone else where they wanted to watch something and I'd already seen it, I'd be open to that. But I think to say I could see myself sitting down in my own free time when there's 1,000 other films I could be watching, and I could see myself watching that again. I think Soylent Green is the first one where I could see myself doing that, just because it was so different to anything else I've seen. So, okay, in this next 1v1, we've got pain versus suffering. So, in this one, we have The Shallows 2016 versus Pig 2021. So, The Shallows, pain versus Pig, suffering. Let me start with Pig in this case. I've seen this twice now, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the craft, appreciate the cinematography, appreciate Nicolas Cage's more kind of downcast performance, and how he plays off the other actors throughout the film. But on the second watch, going in even knowing what I was getting myself into, I just wasn't really. I just thought it was fine, and it's probably the first rating where it's probably below general consensus. Because every time I read about this on Reddit, I can see it's really, really highly regarded. I wouldn't call it an unremarkable film. I just didn't feel like it was an outstanding film. But I did appreciate some of the moments of calm and quiet in it. Yeah, it's one of those where I'm glad I watched it. But I'm not really in a rush to watch it again. That's usually the sign. Maybe now that I have seen it the second time, which is what last year's watch was about. It was a second time watch. Maybe I feel like 2 watches. I'm kind of okay not watching it a third time. The Shallows. Yes, I believe I must have watched this back in the summer. So yeah, I was surprise, scouring around on Reddit looking for more like Jawsy kind of films, more shark-based films, and lo and behold, someone posted, I think it was about this film, giving it a shout out, and I thought, okay, go on then, let me look it up. And then turns out we got Blake Lively in there, which I believe is Ryan Reynolds' partner. So yeah, it's very much there's definitely a shark in it, and there's definitely some pain in this film. I'll tell you that much. Very gives you a sense of. It didn't overstay its welcome either. This is an 86-minute film, so something else that I've come to appreciate is some of these quicker run times as well. 86-minute film. Blake Lively, I thought she put in a good performance. I thought they did good CG work with the shark. The setting was nice. Kind of this remote kind of desert island. Some of the themes of the story were kind of heartfelt. I just thought it was this was like a really good, and I'm glad I took on the recommendation and went for it, because it kind of scratched my itch for wanting to see more shark-based movies, and I'm glad I did. I mean, okay, it's not a Jaws 1 level movie. Spoiler alert for potentially a future video. But I'm glad I watched it. If you're looking for another shark-based film and you haven't seen The Shallows 2016, I do recommend it. And with that being said, The Shallows actually wins my face-off with Pig. That'll probably get me into a lot of trouble with r/movies if they ever found out about this. But yes, that's me for this video. And we're just rolling through these bees. Turns out we've got a lot of bees in there. So yeah, we're going to go into probably the ones I'm most looking forward to talking about in my other bees, the remaining bees on my list. So yes, see you in episode 3.